Hi there, scholars. So today we're going to be doing a little project that has to do with art, but also has a little bit of math in there. We're going to be drawing some straight edge lines. We're going to be using a ruler if you have one at home. I only have large yardsticks at home, so I'm going to be using just a straight edge of a pad, and we're going to be creating squares because today we're going to be making our very own Minecraft self-portraits. And for those of you who've played Minecraft, it's very much a game that works in squares. It's a very pixelated looking character that they create. So they have very square features. And for that, we would ideally be using graph paper. I don't have any graph paper at home. If you do, all the better. I only have lined paper, and you can see that I even kind of ripped this out of a notebook. So what I'm going to do to start off, because I ripped it and because I didn't rip it very cleanly, I'm going to just take my scissors and I'm just going to cut off that extra edge. That's all right. We don't really need it. The size of the paper is the size our portrait will be, and I don't need this extra stuff. I think it makes my artwork look less professional. So I cut off that little bit. And I'm using a lined piece of paper because, like I said at the beginning, we're really interested in trying to create a graph. Graph paper would be your best case scenario, but if you don't have it at home, which many people don't, you can start with lined paper and then you already have your horizontal lines made. So I'm going to be using my straight edge. If you have a ruler, that's the best because then you can even measure along the side of it to make sure that all of your rows are perfectly sized. I'm going to eye it out to the best of my ability. So I have my straight edge. I always, when I have my straight edge, use my two strong fingers on my other side hand and hold it while I trace down. And I'm going to make my squares pretty small, pretty close together. I'm not worrying about going all the way from the top or the bottom of the page. I'll just make my self-portrait the size of what I create. So I'm making all my squares, going around my straight edge. And I'll be using that along with the lined paper that already come on it to create my work. Little squares. That's what I'll need to make this self-portrait. It's going to really help me stay inside the lines. And this is going to be a strategy that we use, lining these off to create our own grid paper. We're going to use that for another project on this lesson series as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Almost at the side of my paper. You'll notice I'm not going all the way to the bottom. My straight edge isn't long enough. That's okay. I'll make a portrait that fits the size of what I have. My favorite thing about art is that it can be created with such limited supplies. You can really use things at home to help you and make it easier. So I have these squares, and I'm going to keep my self-portrait inside these parameters because this is what I have my squares in. So mine's going to stay inside those, and that's going to help me create my self-portrait. Now, when I'm thinking about my self-portrait, I'm thinking about it just the way I would any other self-portrait, but I'm thinking about making it square. So I'm really going to stick to these grid lines. And I'm going to start here at the top because I'm going to start with my head. Now I'm doing this upside down, so I might look a little crazy trying this out because of the way my camera is set up. But when you do it, you're going to be starting at the top, and we're going to be starting with our head. Now, I'm going to have my hair down, and I first just need to figure out what the size of my head is going to be. So I'm going to start up here. This is where my lines end. So this is going to be the top of my paper when I cut it later. I'm going to do down, let's say, 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where my starting line is going to be. And that's going to be my head. Now I have to decide how wide I want my head to be. My head, I think, is going to be, I want it to take up a big amount of the paper. A good way to do this to make sure you're in the center is to count your squares. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 squares. So in the center of those squares is going to be my 8th square. Because if I have 7 on one side and 7 on the other, that will make 14. And that 15th square is going to be square number 8. So I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, I was pretty close to the center when I was first working. That's pretty neat. So that's my center. And I'm going to go over 3 boxes in one direction. 1, 2, 3. Here's my center. And 3 in the other direction. 1, 2, 3. Just got a really weird deja vu. Like I've done this before. I don't know. So that's the top of my head. Now my lines are a little wackadoo here. I can fix those later. Okay, I'm going to be using a thicker marker or a crayon later. So right now I'm just trying to complete the process. I would prefer if you were doing this in pencil because then you can erase any mistakes that you might have. And we want you to be able to do that and to feel comfortable doing that. Now, the next thing I need to think about is my hair. So when we're creating our hairlines, a lot of times, I mean, we have strong edges on our hair, but we want to make sure that we use the squares to keep that. So I'm going to go down I'm not going to draw me with my hat on, I'm going to draw me with my hair. So I'm going to go down 2 inches to where my hair is, 1, 2, or not 2 inches, but 2 squares, I should say. I'm starting at that center square. And because my hair sometimes goes in my face, I'm going to go over 1 in each direction. I'm only taking up 3 squares for that so far. And then I'm going to go down. For my friends with their strong edge ups, there's that start of that. Mine isn't so strong, so I'm going to have sort of a staircase pattern for my hair. So I go over, down, over. And that's kind of the start of my hair there. Now I'm noticing that I might want to go over 1 more square on the top so that I can go down. I kind of took a little too much space on my stairs, and that's okay. When we make mistakes, we just adapt our art so that it works. So I made my head just a little bit wider, got a bigger head so that I can accommodate the hair that I just made. Now I have pretty long hair. So I'm going to use more squares when I'm drawing my long hair than you probably will if you have shorter hair. The way your hair is going to be dependent. Maybe if you have taller hair, you're going to use more than 2 squares for your hair. If you have long locks or if you have dreads, you might be able to get really creative in how you create this hair using the squares. So really make sure you're working in pencil, whisper draw so that you can erase if there's anything that you'd like to change, and be creative because all of our hair looks different. So your hair should by no means look exactly like mine because not a lot of you have the same hair long like mine. But I'm going to use the extra length because I know I have pretty long hair. So my marker seems to be failing me right now, which is somewhat sad. I wish it weren't doing that, but I can switch. That's okay. This is art and we are adaptable. So I'm going to go through my markers. I'm going to see if I can't cannot find a black reason. I will use brown instead. We are adaptable. It's okay. Oh, even my brown is sad. If you find that you have a marker that doesn't work, put it aside. Check out our marker making watercolor lesson because those markers still have a little ink in them, even if they seem like they're failing you right now. This marker is also kind of dying, but you can see what I'm doing with it, so I'm going to go ahead. I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares. Now my hair is even on both sides, so I want to go down 11 squares on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. See how simple these squares make it? Working on grid paper, we're going to see this again when we make our dream houses in another lesson. Working on grid paper makes it so easy to be even and to be symmetrical. Now, some of you are going to want to draw ears. I didn't leave a lot of room for that, but if you draw ears, I'm going to go down 3 here. I'm going to go down 3 here. I make sure I'm even on both sides because That's what the grid paper is used to allow us to do. And if you want ears, and again, I didn't leave a lot of space for it, you're gonna go over, out, in. That's gonna be your ears. It almost looks like a Lego head if you think about it. Now I'm deciding that I want my ears as well. So my ears are gonna be right here, and I made my ears about 2 squares big so that they look like they're sticking out like that. Now, after that, I'm gonna finish with the rest of my face coming from my ears. I still need to add my facial features, but I'm going to start with just my chin. And my chin is going to go down, I'm going to say another 3. 1, 2, 3. If you wanna make your face a little bit longer, that's okay. But whatever you do on the left side, make sure that you're doing on the right side. So now I have my face on both sides, and then I'm going to connect them. I don't know if you can hear my marker squeaking. My marker is crying to me that it is all done and it wants to be made into watercolor now. So you can kind of see the start of my head here. There's the start. I have a pretty weird looking hair right now, but that's all right. I have pretty weird looking hair in real life, so that works out just fine. Next, I'm going to be creating my neck. I want to get my facial features, and I am going to go back for that, but I'm just going to start by mapping out my body first so that I know exactly where everything's going to be. Now, again, my neck is in the center of my head, so I want to be in the center of my head. An easy way you can do that is by finding that 8th square. For me, it's the 8th square. Make sure you count your squares and figure out where the center is. I even made a little line here in the beginning to help remind myself, so that way anytime I need to know where it is, I can easily find it. So that's another thing you can do to help remind yourself. So I know that the center of my paper is right here in the middle, so I'm gonna go right here in the middle on my neck. And I'm going to make my neck 3 wide. So here's my center. I go 1 to the left, 1 to the right. And I'm going to make a little square neck. Again, we're inspired by Minecraft today, and Minecraft very much uses geometric shapes, or that's a mathematic term, very square, or very uses shapes that we're very familiar with. So in Minecraft, we chose to use a grid because it is a very square type of art. The images that are shown on that video game are very square. So here's my neck, and then next I just want to have shoulders. Now, a lot of times when we do a neck, we think about it just stopping right here at our shoulders, but if you really look at a neck, it kind of, the lines come down past where your shoulders are. So when you're looking at your neck, it doesn't necessarily need to just be sitting on top of your shoulders like this, because a lot of times your neck isn't built like that. That's not how our bodies are built. Our shoulder blades go a little bit higher. So I'm going to start a little bit higher on my neck so that it looks like my neck is kind of sitting in there on my shoulders, because it is. It's connected. And I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about as wide as my hair. I might go over, I'll wait right now. I might go over 1 more, but let's see what it looks like on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I stopped with my hair there. I only went down 11, but you can see that my hair does go down to my shoulders. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my hair down on both sides, because I do have longer hair that goes down to my shoulders. So there's my hair. And now I'm looking at my shoulders, and I have to make a decision, and you have to make a decision as an artist. Is this the size shoulders that you want, or do you want them a little wider? I'm going to leave my shoulders there for now. And I'm going to make the decision to move forward without making them wider, but you can make the decision to make them wider if you want. And then from here, I'm just going to bring my marker all the way down to the bottom of where my page ends. Remember, I'm not using the whole page because I only used as long as I could make my squares. And then on the other side, I'm of course going to do the same because I want this to be symmetrical. Symmetrical means that if I were to put a line right down the center of my work, it would be the same on both sides. And it is the same on both sides. So I am making sure I'm making it symmetrical. That's a big thing in Minecraft, is that symmetry piece. And that symmetry piece is another term that you'll learn in math. The last thing, because now I have this big old weird block at the bottom, is I need to show that I have some arms so I can move my elbows around and so I can make some artwork. So I am going to make my arms just a couple inches wide, 2 squares, not inches. I should be more accurate on that. My squares are not the size of inches, so that is not an accurate statement. But I do 2 squares over, and I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to be wearing a t-shirt in this, so I'm going to add a little line there to show my t-shirt. Again, 2 squares over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to connect that. And then I have my t-shirt, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares up, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares up. Keeping that symmetry. Is it the same on both sides? So now I've started my portrait, and you can see it kind of looks like me. Isn't that kind of fun? And it's in that very blocky Minecraft shape. So next, we're going to be looking at our facial features. Now, facial features are going to be a little difficult because we're used to making rounded eyes. We're used to thinking of our face in specific shapes. And we're going to be challenged to think of them in a different way today because we're inspired by that Minecraft style. So we're not going to be making those round eyes like we would normally be used to. We're going to be making them square because that's the way this type of art or this style is created. The same thing goes for our smile. When we're smiling, we're used to drawing like a smiley face or a U or an upside down rainbow. But in this Minecraft work, that's not exactly how you're going to show it. So I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can do the smile, and I'll try to do that in pencil and see if you can't see it so that you can kind of take your choice. But I'm going to start with the eyes, and my eyes are going to be around where my ears are, because if you look where my ears are, right at the top of my ears, I can see my eyes. That's right at the top of the ears. So I'm going to do the same here, and I'm going to go over just 1 square because I don't have a lot of room. And 1 square because I don't have a lot of room. There's the 2 places where my eyes can go. Now, I don't want to just make one eye and then not have room for both. So I have to count how many squares I have between. This is, again, using that logic brain, using those math skills, being able to plan out what you're doing. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares in between the outsides of the eyes that I just made. If I have 5 squares and my eyes are not going to be connected, I know that in the middle, I need at least 1 square to separate them. So if I have 5, that means that that's these squares, 1 square. And that's going to separate my eyes. And then I'm going to connect my squares. My eyes aren't really squares. That's okay. This is the type of self-portrait that's going to look somewhat like you, but it's going to be in a different style. So there are my 2 eyes. Now I wear glasses, so I'm even going to connect mine, boop, and connect them to my ears, because that's going to show I'm wearing my glasses. If you are not wearing glasses, you do not need to add those lines there because that's not what you look like. That's what I look like, and you're not drawing me right now. The other things I'm going to draw, and I need to be careful doing this because I don't have full squares to draw them. So I'm going to just trace these 2 lines here, bloop, bloop, and that's going to kind of look like eyebrows for me. I didn't draw on the full square. I just traced those lines so that we have those eyebrow effects. And then underneath my glasses, because my nose is what holds up my glasses, I'm just going to put a little line. Normally, we might draw our nostrils or to really round out our nose, but again, we're working on a very flat style, so we're really trying to keep it square. Now, for my smile, and I'm going to switch to my pencil. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. We'll see. If not, I'll figure it out. But for my smile, I was just planning on having a little rectangle, and I was going to let that kind of represent my smile. I was going to leave it white, and I kind of look like I'm smiling. It sort of looks like a nervous smile, but that's one option. If you want to make it look a little bit more like a smile, you can try to fill in these so that it kind of gets that upward turn. But really, in order to be in this style that we're working with, we're going to try and keep it as square as possible. So I'm keeping it to just that kind of nervous smile square look. So that's my self-portrait. The last thing I need is to have eyes. Now, ooh, here's an issue. I only left 4 squares for my eyes. So I need to sort of draw and imagine my own squares in order to fill them in, because I've already sort of used the ones that I have. So I'm going to, and I'm going to do my best. If I need my straight edge, I'll use it. Draw a straight line up and a straight line up. That's me imagining I'm cutting these squares into fractions, and then I'm going to cut that in half. Cutting these squares into fraction and then in half. And when I color those in, those will be a little bit more apparent. We're going to be coloring the bottom parts of those eyes. So now is the time for us to color. Again, when you're coloring, you want to be very mindful of the space that you are using. So you want to stay inside those squares. So I have really dark brown hair. So I'm going to start with my brown marker. And I'm going to color in all those squares that are designated for my hair. When I use my marker, I make sure I'm using that marker technique. It's going to look the best in the end. So I just move in one direction to fill in my space. Again, I go above my hair. And when I'm coloring, I prefer to outline my spaces. I just find it faster to color it in, and I find it easier to stay inside the lines. So I'm going kind of row by row to fill this in. You're going to be using whatever color your hair is. And again, your hair might look quite different from mine, because in real life, your hair looks quite different from mine. But I'm sticking to those squares. I'm really trying to make sure that I'm being as neat as possible, because in this type of art, when we're using grid paper or grid paper that we've made, we know that we're using it because it's the type of art that should be done very neatly. So this isn't a time to be super hasty. I'm even covering up a lot of those lines that I made before, and that's all right, because at the end, I'm still gonna get my really cool square portrait. Last bit of hair, oops. I don't have a lot of room over here because of the way I set my camera up. I'm kind of working pretty vertically here, but you will have to find a space in your home where you can spread out. All right, I also have, fun fact, a lot of people don't know this about me, because I have dark hair, I have green eyes. So I'm gonna color in inside of my eyes green. There we go. Now, I need to find a color that matches my face. There are not a lot of colors in a marker set that really matches a face. So I invite you, in my color face anyway, so I invite you, if you don't have a color that you like, to just do something fun, be imaginative. Maybe you're blue today, maybe you're red today. I'm gonna go with the classic kind of Lego colored yellow, I suppose, because that's the best I can come up with here at my house. And really, we're trying to come up with projects that you can do at your house. Although I suppose on the paper, it doesn't look quite as bad. Maybe that's a good color that I chose. Again, I use my marker going in one direction. If you use the side of your marker, you'll notice your markers are shaped like triangles. If you use that side of the marker that creates that full triangle, you're going to get a really good solid look, and you're going to have a lot of surface area that's giving you that marker ink. So you're really going to get the best ink possible by using the marker on its side. Again, I'm just staying nice and neat. I don't want to create a mess. If you don't have markers at home, this is a great project to do with crayons. I'm also going to color inside these glasses here, because some of these is part of my skin. Just like when you look through my glasses, you can kind of see my skin. So I am going to color inside those glasses a little bit. I want to be careful not to color in my smile, my nervous grin there. And when you do this at home, feel free to continue using those background squares to create a setting. Where are you? Maybe you're home because you want it to be realistic in this pandemic that we're going through. Maybe you're at the park and you're daydreaming that you're there playing basketball with your friends. You can draw a little square hoop behind your head and maybe even a square basketball, which wouldn't work very well in real life. But since we're in Minecraft world, that might be kind of what we're looking at. Oh, I'm very happy I chose that color. That color makes me, I'm a little orange, but the way it reads on the camera, it looks a little bit normal, sort of. When we're home, we do the best we can with what we've got. You might decide that on your background, you might decide that on your background you add just colors and shapes, and that's all right too. And I'm wearing a blue shirt today, so I'm going to go ahead and wear a blue shirt in my Minecraft as well. This self-portrait doesn't necessarily have to be what you're wearing right now. You can draw yourself in your favorite outfit. Maybe you can even try using the squares to make letters or words and challenge yourself in that way as well. You can still use, if you've checked out our Keith Haring and bubble letter lesson, you can still use those methods of bubble letter making. I'm going to turn this paper a little bit for you here. But you can use those methods to help you make square letters in something like this as well. So again, if you're practicing making those bubble letters at home, practice making some square ones so that you can go back and, you know, work on something like this and even add a logo or your name on your shirt if you want to. My marker's running out. It's another one that's going to go into our watercolor experiment. I'm going to have to change markers. I'm going to set this one aside because this one's going to be made into watercolor. This color is going to be a little different. That's all right. I love how vibrant markers are, but I gotta say it's one of the materials that drives me the most crazy because it's the ones that run out on you. And you know, it's always disappointing when you're doing a piece and you don't get your very best marker working. So now I have kind of a 3-colored shirt there. I don't know. I might go over that with another color, but that's for a project for me at home. There we go. There's a blue that works. So I would go over my shirt with that. Find the colors that you like. I'm going right over my other ones because I want it to be the same color. This is my art and this is how I want it to kind of look. So I can take my time in creating that. So that's all for today. Again, if you are going to be doing the background, think about colors, think about settings, think about where you want to be or where you are. Any of those will work. Use your creative imagination. Do something that's interesting. Maybe you're in outer space and you draw the moon behind you, or some stars, or the sun. Anything is possible when you create art. So there's my little self-portrait. I'm going to just emphasize my glasses a little bit. Bloop, 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 bloop. My glasses aren't blue, but when this blue isn't on top of that, it kind of looks a little more black, so that makes them stand out. Over my eyebrows one more time, and my nose. And I'll outline that mouth. Oopsies, I wish I hadn't done that in blue, but that's all right. Now I have kind of a blue, nervous mouth. And there's my self-portrait. Gentlemen, if you've drawn along with me today, I very much appreciate it. Post it to us. Let us see what you're working on. Let us see your creative spirit. Maybe you have a setting, and I'd really love to see where you're imagining you are at this time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, scholars.